Nick Gibbs is sad. So is Nicholas Gibbs. He's wondering, there was some commentary over the course of the week. He was making some thoughts. I know on X, he's commented that, it may not go up forever. And maybe there was some things he said last week on the show. I don't know. But Nick, have you sold any of your underlying real Tesla shares?
I have not sold a single Tesla share, Randy.
Not a single one. Did you
Not a
get like
single one.
caught up and out of the money or something, or one of your options go south? I mean, were you,
I am not screwed on options. I am not anything. I have all my shares. It's Nick just believes that at some point we must moderate
moderate?
for the stock to be healthy. So
So I did a little historical. I took a brief look at history. I haven't done a real study yet. Maybe you've done a study, but I did a brief look at the run up in 2019, 2020, 21. There was only a few times when it went down and it only went down like 10 or 20% in that huge run up. Is that what you would anticipate as a couple of 10 or 20% blips between now and 10,000?
10,000. Yeah. Yeah, a couple for sure. Um yeah, I look, I look at this in a very different way than a lot of people, and I get that. And normally it's the past like 3 years, it's been easy to be on the other side where it seems like we all have a homogenous opinion where Tesla's undervalued, it should be worth a lot more. And I it was easy, right? Everyone blends into that same narrative. And the only people that stand out are someone as extreme as Gordon Johnson.
Right.
But I am not somebody that believes in this whole let's look at the past, look how Tesla's coiled, and then it pops, and so it's going to do this because it's done that in the past. I don't believe in that.
Mm.
I do not believe in looking at what the past has done because the past to me is no indication of the future. It can be a data point, it's something to be aware of what could be.
Mhm.
But just because this is how things played out in the past doesn't mean it'll play out like that in the future.
Right.
I fundamentally believe that. So a lot of people will say, well, Tesla went up 1,000% before when XYZ, so it could easily do that again. And I don't believe that. I don't believe it could just do that. I believe that when everybody and their mother thinks Tesla's just going to go up 5% a day, when the VIX is extremely low, although it went up a little bit, when you have all these tech companies at all-time highs, when we have triple witching coming up on Friday, when we have a Fed potential cut tomorrow, which who knows? At this point, they could surprise everyone. But either way, their rhetoric's going to be hawkish. We still haven't really, we don't have more or new revenue at the moment, right? Like, there's still some like pragmatism you have to bring to this, and so I think that Tesla is at the moment pretty fairly valued, especially this move over such a short period.
Right.
My fear is that this move is not for the right reasons.
Okay.
And that when if it's not for the right reasons, that means it's hollow, and then the air could get sucked right out of it.
Okay. So give me, you got to put some color on that. What do you mean? What would the wrong reasons be, or what would the not right reasons be?
The wrong reasons would be, well, Elon and Trump are friends, and so uh, regulation's going to be easier, and everything's going to be easier to solve FSD now because Trump is going to be the president, and him and Elon are friends. If that's why this is running up, it's the wrong reasons. It's not good reasons. Should Does it make sense for that to be part of it? Yes, it does. Does it make sense for that to be over half of the reason why we've moved up right now? No, I don't think so. Um, Wrong reasons would be, well, Nasdaq's about to.
Let me back up to that one quick. Okay, let's talk about that one for a minute. So I posted today. Maybe you saw my
Uh-oh,
tweet. I don't know.
did not.
I know. So I
It's not
posted.
staged, so
So I posted today because people were talking, they continually talk about the regulations of FSD and or robotaxi being this massive block, this thing that's just going to really interrupt any progress that, Tesla can make next year. And my post was that we have the maybe most best salesman, not only the best entrepreneur, but maybe the best salesman on the planet right now working for us in Elon Musk. He's proven he can sell people to invest bajillions of dollars in his companies. Even when they're base startups, he's like, yeah, just send me a few bill. But anyway, he's a good salesman. Very good salesman. He is not just in best buds with the president of the United States. He's best buds with presidents of countries and CEOs of companies, and I mean all kinds of senators. And he's got a Rolodex, which was a thing you may or may not even know what it is, but he has got at his beck and call the top people all over the world. Okay, so now you take those two things together and you say, and Elon's argument is with regard to FSD and robotaxi is if it is indeed safer and I can prove it to you with my data, then it would be criminal, it would be unethical, it would be immoral to keep it from becoming a thing. So you go to the president of the United States, you go to the vice president, you go to all these senators, and you go, can't you see this? I got the data, and it would be immoral not to do with it, not to approve this in terms of regulations. So it needs to be top down from the federal government. He goes to Chairman Xi, he goes to the EU, he goes to his girlfriend down there in Italy. And he's got all these people that are his buds. So what do you think?
I don't disagree with you. I don't think regulations are a real problem
Okay.
where we are right now. Like, tell me, with SpaceX, regulations are a hindrance because they are slowing or impeding them being able to launch and test at the speed that they're moving. That makes sense. They're having regulation help makes sense. You tell me where regulations are slowing down FSD. It's not. Even NHTSA hasn't really been a thorn in the side of Tesla. They really haven't. They've been actually very friendly towards Tesla, while the rest of the Biden administration and all these other divisions and organizations have been kind of, say, antagonistic at best. NHTSA hasn't. They really haven't. So I don't think right now that's our problem.
So,
Maybe
so let me interrupt you again. Do you think there's a perception that that's a problem? I mean, that's what I was responding to, is that there's a perception that, okay, you solve it, but now you can't get your robotaxis out there because of state laws and federal laws and laws in Europe and laws in China. And you can't roll it out because of the rules. And then the perception, if that goes away because of his new buddy relationship with the president, that perception getting out of the way would be helpful to the stock.
look, Europe, when it comes to regulation, sure, Europe's a little different, right? They won't even let people switch lanes without you having to say yes, you can, or acknowledging it, right? In the United States, we don't have this problem. We don't. In fact, the majority of states, the way I feel like this has been talked about ad nauseum, so it just surprised me that we're even talking about this. Not you and me, but just in general, the ecosystem. Um, the U.S. works not in a if the rule says you can do it, then you can do it. The U.S. works if there's not a rule saying you can't do it, you can do it, right? And most states don't have rules against autonomous vehicles. In fact, very few states have any rules about autonomous vehicles, and the majority of them are friendly towards it. The majority of them follow the Florida standard and have copied that. So I don't see this as a problem. Eventually, in 2026, when we're rolling everything out, would it help speed things up faster? Yeah, sure it would. But let's get there first. And so, to me, I don't know. It seems like it's the wrong thing to hang your hat on, in my opinion.
All right. So what else? You had a couple of other, I think you called them synthetic reasons. for the stock to be up.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think there's some what's the word? Not nefarious, but I don't know. There's some
Oh,
gamesmanship
mm,
afoot.
okay.
So right now we know that we have triple witching hour coming up, which okay, it's not really that big of a deal for Tesla, but it tends to affect the entire market.
Okay.
So you'll see. It doesn't mean it's going to go up or down per se. Although the last 3 December triple witching have been negative, but if you look at historically, they've been positive. Again, this is why history is data point. It's
Hard.
not
Yeah.
a predictor. But what is consistent is volatility will be up.
Mm,
Um, Markets will be extremely liquid, meaning bid ask will be really tight. You'll be fine. Uh, if you're in the option market or if you're just trading stocks in general. But that's a factor. Another factor is Nasdaq's doing a rebalancing,
right.
and I think what you see right now is a lot of funds getting ahead of what's going to happen, right? Especially as they see Tesla stock go up and up and up. Guess
Mhm.
what? They're going to start buying ahead of when the rebalancing happens.
Yeah.
So I think you see a bunch of that. And then lastly, I think there's a lot of window dressing going on, and same predicament, right? It's
Mhm.
like, oh man, well, we want to get in there before everybody buys for the rebalancing, and so it's just like this. It's the right, all the right things happening at the right time.
Wow.
And the reason that's synthetic again is because these aren't people who are saying, "Oh wow, Tesla's a real AI company. Look at V13. We got to buy because this is the next big thing." These are people who are buying because either they have to, which not saying that's not real, but it could mean that you don't have more buying in the future, which supply demand, right? But then also with the window dressing, people could dump it shortly after. People might have bought in December for window dressing, and to come January 3rd, they'd be like, all right, let's take our gains and run.
Yeah, so you may have heard me say, maybe we talked about it last Tuesday, is that I thought the Bank of America note was the thing that really started the second leg because they mentioned Optimus. And then we got that note this morning. I'm not going to remember the name of the company because there's a million of them, but we got the note this morning from another investing company that raised their price target from I don't know 180 to 515 or something, but they broke it down and they gave Optimus like $800 billion in
Yeah,
valuation. Yeah.
yeah, but that was Dan Ives. Like,
No, that was
like
in addition to Dan Ives. It was another
515. That was literally
yeah,
what Dan Ives.
they also came in at the same thing. They came in at 515. Also, I might be able to find it, but it was yeah, it was a different and they broke it down by, the cars, the robotaxis and Optimus, and they gave Optimus a very substantial value. So
But
I felt like Bank of America made it okay. It finally let the other investing companies, especially the ones that put out these notes, to start talking about Optimus. And I felt like maybe that was a major reason for this next leg.
I don't know. Do you make any decisions based on what analysts say?
Oh, I don't. Yes, a yes and no.
You do?
Well, I don't make any decisions because I only make decisions around Tesla. But I pay attention to what the analysts say, and I think some
Okay, you
people
pay, but why? Tell me why it matters.
why it matters. Well, I guess you're.
Especially when they have been wrong for
Oh,
so
that.
long.
Oh, that.
Why would you listen all of a sudden? Like, why would it matter all of a sudden? Like, what value does it add? And what are the repercussions for them being wrong?
Yeah, repercussions for them.
Yeah, there is none.
Yeah. Yeah. Quite. I mean, your original question is what do I do? I don't make any stock decisions based on what the analysts are saying, but I do make my overall analysis is impacted by Dan Ives and some of these other guys who have done the work, who have actually done the work and seem to be truly caring
But
about what's going on. Yeah.
I'm telling you, they haven't. I can't even listen to Dan Ives. Honestly, he's a joke. I know everyone loves the Tesla community because he's a bull, but I used to say this about Ross Gerber, same thing. He was a joke. I used to say same thing about Gary Black. He was a joke. They don't understand the company. Yeah, Dan Ives is saying nice things right now, but even when you hear him speak about it, he doesn't understand it. Like he generally doesn't really understand it. He regurgitates half the stuff he hears from the Tesla community, but then when he even says it, half the time he's saying it's like, no, that's you're not actually saying this right. Like, there's no way you tell me you've listened to him and you're not like, yeah, close enough. So if this is the guy who supposedly did the homework and all this research, and even when I listen, I'm like, close enough. Like, come on. Like, what's these analysts are a joke. They are literally there. They're no different than watching CNN or Fox News and thinking that these are people who actually are doing the news and doing the real hard hit reporting, and they're going in and doing real investigative. Like, it's not. It's honestly, it's all just it's all fake. It's all people picking numbers out of the air, people who aren't opinionated, but they're reporters. This is all just one big business, and the business is attention grabbing. Oh, this analyst said this. Oh, they said this. Oh, we can be a little more provocative. Oh, we don't think this is going to happen. But at the end of the day, I don't think anyone listens to them. And these are analysts that aren't actually putting, like, when you're an analyst, like, you don't actually. Perfect example, Ross Gerber. Been talking about Tesla this whole time, even when he was a bull. Dude had like no shares.
Not that
Like
much in the game. Yeah.
I don't know. Look, I listen to people who actually put their money where their mouth's at, who, if they're wrong, there's repercussions, and people who have been right over and over. Analysts don't fall into that bucket. They don't.
Well, speaking of that, I would like to just shift. Actually, I'll shift there later. What I really want to know is you've got FSD version 13 and you've been driving it around. You've had it for like 15 hours or something. So I expect 14 hours worth of reporting. So what?
Another great example. See, this is a segue should have been made. Nick, I agree with you. These analysts, they never even tested out FSD all these years.
Yeah,
What have they been doing? How can I even trust them if they're not supposedly do their
I,
research, but they're not even going and testing it?
I know. Yeah.
Bank of America finally went to a Tesla Gigafactory.
Right.
Finally, test drove FSD. Where have you been?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
kind of analyst are you if you don't even do the bare minimum? That's the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Now, that would have been my transition.
Lovely segue. Yes.
Yeah. Uh, okay. So jokes aside, FSD 13 is, I think it's a bigger jump than 11 to 12.
Wow.
Yeah, I know there's like Dirty Tesla doesn't think so. I don't know why, but I guess like him and I just never seem to see eye to eye. Um, but I definitely think it's better by a long shot. It's literally perfect. Like there's only one thing it's not doing right now is at the end of the trip it's not parking for some reason. Like I just want the park, but it's pulling out of drive. It's doing everything. It's so smooth, Randy. Like I don't know how to explain it. You cannot be smoother than this. And I'm not saying like it's smooth like 99%. It's smooth 100% of the time. Yellow lights, people doing stupid things. There's zero harsh braking, zero phantom braking, zero indecisiveness on a yellow light. Like okay, go. Perfect. I'm
Mm,
telling you, perfect.
mm,
I've yet to have no, that's not true. I did take over once today because I didn't like the route it was taking.
mm, mhm.
So I took over and I was like, that's not the best path. Go
Right.
straight
Yeah.
instead of taking the highway because I knew there's gonna be traffic at rush hour.
So I
Um,
did. So I did that over the weekend too, and I think it would have been right.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh yeah, I mean no, but it's so that was my one takeover, and then I've pretty much taken over at the end of every drive to park. I've tried to let it park a few times, but it just like I went to the supermarket, it just stopped at the front door. I'm like, oh. I went to we parked at this restaurant called Cassis, and there's all these parking spots out front, and it didn't pick any of them. It just stopped right in front of the restaurant. I'm like, oh, come on, like just want to tell it go park. Um, but it's pulling out of driveways perfectly. No issues there. Um, I've done that several. It's pulling out of parking spots every
Mm,
time,
mm,
no problems,
mm.
perfect. It's literally it's flawless.
Right,
I
right.
don't know how else to say it. It's flawless. And I've been driving it. I got it yesterday. First real drive we did was we took it from here, St. Petersburg, over to Tampa to go see the Cybercab.
Mm.
Um, perfect, perfect job. I mean, like, think of what smooth a smooth drive would be, and think smoother. It's all I can say. Like
Yeah,
it's
I mean, I'm on, I haven't driven it very much, as you know. But over the last couple of weeks, I've put on a couple 150 miles down to San Diego and back, and downtown and back, and each one of those is 150 miles round trip or something. So, and then today, 30, 40 miles. So, I've finally been putting on some miles. Now, this is hardware 3, and it's 12.5.4 or something. I mean, I am, even though I'm way behind, I'm absolutely mind blown by some of the lane changes it makes where it edges its way in. It's like it's running out of space and it goes, okay, I'm just going to start moving over. I know that you're not, the guy behind me might be a little bit like, what are you doing? But I move over, I put my blinker on, I move over. Eventually, the people either back off or they don't, just like a human would do if they were running out of space. It's like, I'm like,
yeah,
I-
yeah. The maneuvers it makes, it's wild, and it's again like if you don't drive 12 a lot, like maybe you wouldn't think that 12 to 13 is bigger than 11 to 12,
no.
and I would get that.
Uh-huh.
But if you drive 12 a lot, going from 12 to 13, like you're gonna see
Just different. Yeah. Yeah.
it's just different. It's so decisive. It makes decisions so quickly. Like there's no lag. Now, when I say perfect, let me just caveat, it's not done.
Hmm.
Okay? Like there's still certain things that that I haven't been able to experience yet, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know but I imagine that I don't think this part's done yet. But once obviously not park at the end, right? So clearly that means it's not done. Um it's also I haven't tested school zones yet, but
Hmm.
like with 12, I would say 60% of the time it would do the right thing, 40% it wouldn't. So we'd have to test that out on 13 as well. Um, and then there's like just certain things that you would need for a robo taxi,
Hmm.
um, to be able to give like, hey, just when I get to the end of my drive, I should before when I put in my destination, I should part of that should be park or drop off,
Right. Right.
right? Because there's two different things. In fact, that should be in your settings. It should be one of them should be your default, right? If it's my personal car, the default should always be just park.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I should always have an option to not just drop off this time.
Right. Right.
And I'm sure there's like a lot of other like little things. So it's not done,
Hmm.
but I'm telling you, FSD 13 is perfect. Like the driving is perfect. There's features missing, but the
Hmm.
driving itself is perfect
Right. Right.
so far.
All
I'll
right.
let you know when it's
Yeah.
not.
Okay. All right. So now let me go to my other subject, which has nothing to do with Tesla. Well, it kind of does, but
We're gonna
there
talk
was a
about
couple of,
minions.
huh?
We're gonna talk
What?
about minions.
Minions? No. What was Minions?
Oh, I don't. It's a movie.
Oh, I know Minions. I know the movie. I was going to talk about NVIDIA, which is close to, that's kind of like Minions. NVIDIA, Microsoft, because this is you and I've had this conversation. So Microsoft said today, we've got enough chips, we just need power. And NVIDIA went down another $3. So I thought there was no chance that there was ever going to be, you know, anybody having enough chips that NVIDIA would have, you know, exponentially able to grow and sell as many chips as they want to forever and ever.
Well, obviously that's not the case. Um,
Okay. All right.
but
I thought it was going to be a lot longer before anybody would go, I'm good. I don't need any more chips right now.
I don't think that speaks a lot to Nvidia as much as that speaks to Microsoft.
Oh, okay.
So that's what I would say. I mean, look, when you have like Meta, for example,
Mhm.
having to go and rent space from Oracle because they just don't have the capacity,
Mhm.
right? You're seeing that bleed over. Microsoft is also leveraging Oracle, is my understanding, because they don't have enough compute for OpenAI. Like it's this isn't exactly I don't know what you saw or what exactly the verbiage was, but even then, if you don't have enough power, then what's the point of having more compute?
Chips. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like, okay, like I don't need more chips.
Right.
Could have meant like because I don't have the power for them. So like,
Right.
what am I going to do with them?
Right.
Right. So it might be like, yeah, we would love more chips, but to do what if we
Mhm.
can't even power them up? There's no point. You
Which
know.
again, and I'm not an investor in NVIDIA. I don't ever intend to be an investor in NVIDIA, but I think it's been an interesting stock to kind of watch from afar. And it's just, I've always had this kind of this feeling like, yeah, they got a lot of cool stuff, and I'm sure they'll come up with more cool stuff. And I really think that Jensen's a genius and brilliant in what he does, but that maybe it doesn't have the same kind of what would you call it? Runway, long runway that maybe you would want to see, that you would be looking for a company that stock has gone up this fast and that
Well,
yeah.
well, Randy, let's we started this off talking about comments people put. Let's go back to the comments that people would put after a Nick and Randy video or a Nick and Herbert video or Nick and Farzad video, where Nick would say, NVIDIA is not an AI company. NVIDIA is a hardware company. They're a chip company. They're not an AI company.
Right.
Oh, now look at us. Now people are starting to agree with this.
Okay.
All this time later, about a year and a half later, people are starting to finally see this. And I still think that they have runway. They have a lot of runway. Um, not Tesla runway,
Mhm, mhm,
not I don't know, not Microsoft and Amazon runway,
mhm.
not maybe they have Apple runway, but
Probably.
in the long run,
Yeah.
uh, but but yeah, they still have runway. They still have a lot of runway, and they're going to come up with new chips that are more efficient, more power efficient, less heat, minimizing entropy. They're going to be working on it, and they are they're the only game in town. They really are. So until that changes, it's they have a runway in perpetuity for what they're doing. Now, how fast can that grow? How many use cases are out there? That's going to be the problem in the long run, but I don't think we're close to that. In fact, I think right now people are trying to solve the power problem, the transformer problem,
Yeah.
so that guess what? They can go get more chips.
Right.
So I think that's all that's happening right now. Um, there's a lot of demand. That's not stopping.
So, NVIDIA Part 2, you may not have seen the article because it just came out a little while ago and you've been out driving V13. Uh, but NVIDIA also has their robot chip, the Jensen, no, the
It's
Jetson chip.
marketing.
Huh?
Marketing.
Mo-
All that. Okay. So again, this is why I say Nvidia is not an AI company.
Okay.
Look, all right, sure. What's gonna happen? I don't want to say think first principles because I feel like that's a cliche that's been like overused and it's kind of annoying. But just think about it. What we're seeing right now with what I would and I think we would all agree are kind of the leaders in humanoid robots would be a figure and Tesla, right? We would consider them leaders. What they have already both quickly come to the conclusion is that you can't just use off the shelf actuators, that we have to build everything inside. You have to be vertically integrated, etc. Right? This is going to be the same thing for any chips like this. You're not going to be able to just take some generic one that Nvidia creates that's supposed to be for all robots out there, all humanoid robots out there, all robots of any kind of animalistic characteristic. You're not going to be able to just take that and put it into everything. We've seen that. We've also seen that with FSD, that you can't
Right.
just take some NVIDIA chip and use it for there. It's not, NVIDIA makes chips to be able to be generalized. Even if they do have a dedicated robotic one, it's still generalized for all kinds of platforms, all type of architectures of robotics. In my opinion, it's going to have to be vertically integrated. You have to build it in-house to be explicitly made for the way you're doing things, the power consumption you have, the latency you need, right? You make certain sacrifices based on your chip design, based on what you're trying to do, the overall architecture, right? You're not just looking at the chip, but how does the chip work in concert with everything else that you're
Right.
making, all
Right.
these other decisions. It's it doesn't work in my opinion. It works for training because training is not that nuanced. But when it comes to the actual edge case, the actual inference at the
Mhm,
edge,
mhm,
that's a
mhm.
different case. That matters, especially if you want to go to scale. My opinion. I could be
Okay.
wrong.
All
Time will
right.
tell. But history already, and now I'm kind of being hypocritical because I'm talking about history, but we have seen that that is the technological pathway
Okay.
is
Yes.
to vertically integrate.
So on the same subject of chips, but now switching over to TSMC, Elon told them, I guess yesterday or the day before, or at least the president or the CEO of TSMC said that Elon told him, look, the future is robots, and we're going to need a lot of chips. And the CEO said, well, if you got the money, we got the chips. So what did you think about that conversation?
I am hearing about that for the first time right now.
Oh, is
But
that right? That was a fair.
yeah.
That's. He said he never called him Elon Musk. He said the richest man in the world and I were having a conversation the other day. And so the
So
so so the CEO of TSMC said that he agrees that the future is robots and that he assured the richest man in the world that he will get all the chips he needs as long as he pays for them.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty funny stuff. Anyway, I thought it was an amusing conversation. I've now completely lost my notes, so I hope I can remember what I wanted to talk about. So, all right,
Oh,
so everybody's confused tonight. They don't know what to do. They've never seen Tesla down in the after hours. It's down $8.42 right now in the after hours. Yeah, I mean, I put it up on X. I commented on it on X, and I got huge numbers of people saying, I'm kidding, of course. Everybody's just having a good time with it. But so to your point in the early part of the conversation, there's going to have to be some kind of modification of this run up at some point. We're either going to flatten out again and start getting a support level. I think you mentioned a couple of weeks ago you thought we were a good support level. Boy, were you right on that one? You were like that was pretty good there. He's like, well, yeah, it seems like we're building support around 410. Yeah, that was right.
well, we'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see what happens. I mean,
So you have no short-term prognostications at this point? Do you think we go to 600 before we bounce, or do you think we're kind of maybe this 500 to 515 range might be kind of the thing? Because there's also a technical analyst that I quoted this morning who was talking about almost exactly the same thing, 510. I don't know why everybody's coalescing around that.
more more things that don't matter. You got
Okay.
it.
What about your technical and I know you do technical analysis.
I
So,
don't.
oh, I thought you
I
did.
don't.
So
Mm,
you look at
I,
technicals, but you don't care about them.
I'll look at it. Look, I look at history.
Yeah.
I'll see what an analyst says. Just to know. I think it's important to know what's going on.
Mhm.
I think it's important to understand what RSI is, what the MACD is, what are Fibonacci levels. Like, I think it's important to know that. I would never use any of that as a decision maker. It makes no sense. It to me. But no, like this is nothing. This is down $8. This is not even 2%, Randy. Like
Yeah, no,
we
it
need to
moved.
see like a 10-15% pullback,
No, I mean, it was
right?
hilarious today. The moves were like
Yeah.
in one day. It was crazy time. I
But
did.
but that does show you though. That does show you that it well, I don't know if it shows you anything. To me, that that reads where I don't want to say losing steam. I don't think that's the right word, but the buyers might be almost done buying.
Mhm, mhm,
The FOMO might still be there.
mhm, mhm.
The people who are FOMOing into this, the people who are
Window.
selling their shares to buy call options, that might still be there, but it tells me that the window dressing might be wrapping up, that everybody who needs to rebalance is wrapping up. It, but again, retail tends to be the first to understand something, and retail is also the first to get screwed, and to be they're the first ones to be in there, I think, but they're also the last ones to be buying, and it's like, oh crap, so I it kind of feels like that to me, but who knows? Like, we go to 550, we go to 600. I don't know.
Yeah.
What I do know, I promise you, Randy, I would bet you every last share I have, and I still have them. I bet you every last share that eventually we'll have a pullback.
Well, yes, we will
Promise you.
eventually have a
I
pullback.
promise you.
Okay, so speaking of pullbacks, let's talk about the general market now, because we also kind of hinted around about that at the beginning. So we've got this week, and the most important thing, of course, is the Fed decision tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
And I think sounds like you agree with me 100% that we'll still get the 50 the 25% cut, but that it will be a hawkish
Wait,
state.
wait a minute.
Oh, I
Wait
thought
a
you
minute.
didn't just say that. Okay. I thought that's what
No,
you
no, no.
okay, all
No,
right.
no, no. I see, I got a good memory. I
Okay.
got a really good memory.
All right.
And my memory tells me that this time last week, you told me the bonds were telling you that we're not going to have a rate cut.
Oh, so that was 2 weeks ago.
No, that was last week.
It was?
Book it.
I
Mark
thought I
my words.
changed my mind. Okay, so I must have changed my mind after you, because I know when I was with Larry, that was my
That
opinion.
normally happens. After me, women
I
tend to
changed my
change their,
mind.
well, people
Could,
change
I
their,
could.
yeah.
Yeah, saw the
Yeah.
light.
Yeah. Look, nah, I'm done with men. Going to women. Oh,
Well,
damn,
what
not again.
happened? So I just I don't know. I read enough of the different guys who were talking, the different whatever they call them, presidents
Analysts?
and no, the guys,
Oh, the
no,
Fed presidents?
the
Yeah.
Fed presidents and Fed governors and all their different titles. And I was kind of looking at all the betting was all saying that it was going down. That the 25% was still in. So I capitulated. What I've been saying this week up until tonight, we'll see what I say tomorrow, is that they shouldn't cut. That there's the signals that I'm seeing, retail sales up today, auto sales up today. I mean, I don't see anything happening with regard to the employment markets that are not good. I'm hearing that CEOs of large companies are planning to hire. I'm seeing this Federation of Small Business people saying that they're very optimistic about next year. I'm seeing retail sales up, as I said. So I think the bond market is saying inflation is not done, and I've heard at least two or three of the governors say they don't think inflation is done. Why cut tomorrow? I don't get it. So my current statement is they will cut tomorrow, but there'll be a hawkish note. Some hawkishness in the note might be a better way to say it.
Oh, you're so close. Everything Randy says, stamp of approval until that last part. I think tomorrow you're going to see one of the most hawkish Feds we've had in a while. That that's that, yeah, that's what I think. I think they're going to cut, but they don't like what they see, and they need the bond market to help them. They need to do the work. They need, you know what they need? They need to do a pause, but they can't do a pause, or they're making decisions for the wrong reasons.
Right.
They're not pausing because, well, the market's priced this in and it's like guaranteed, and so they're not data dependent. They're making a pause based on what the market's telling them.
Sentiment, yeah.
So what's the point of having a Fed,
Yeah.
right? But but my opinion, they're not going to pause. They're going to do a cut, but to have a synthetic pause, I'm using that word a lot lately,
Yeah. Yeah.
they're gonna create that with their rhetoric, and it's
Got it.
gonna be overly hawkish.
Okay. All right.
Not slightly, I think it's gonna be overly.
So that's where we differ slightly to very hawkish. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it
Well, how will the
works.
market take
It
that?
does work.
How's the market going to take that?
I think you're starting to see it right now.
Oh, okay. All right. Because the market is already predicting that they're going to be hawkish because, well, again, the retail numbers, I think that's probably impacted today's activity because those came in
That
way hotter than expected.
that drop you saw in Tesla today
Yeah.
down to 457. Again, we never know any of these things,
Right, right, right.
but if you told me to like speculate what happened there, to me that was smart money getting out before the Fed.
Hmm.
And then the run up we had, that was FOMO.
I always just blame it on Kathy Wood. It's easier. Every
Could be,
drop is Kathy.
yeah. But I look, I do think that inflation is kind of poking its head again. Um, Credit card debt is again at all time highs. You know, like Trump won.
Mhm.
There's a lot of animal spirits out there because of that, but nothing has fundamentally changed
Mhm.
with our current status with the economy.
Right.
The only thing that's changed is us as investors have gotten excited and put more capital to work.
Well, and the business community is excited. The business community is optimistic, and the
Yeah.
consumers are
Well, they're
optimistic. All that
investors.
matters. All that matters. Yeah, yeah. I think that's why.
I agree.
I think that's why retail sales went up. I think retail sales went up because of the optimism. Okay, because when did they go up? They went up in November. They didn't go up in October. They went up in November. Yeah.
Yeah. As the credit card debt.
Yes, as they well, it kind of follows.
So,
Yeah, no, I
but
agree. And I think that I also I think it was in my morning show this morning. I was talking about the fact that even though we can sit there as a community, as all of us, we can look there and say, okay, Doge is going to go to work, and Elon always does what he says he's going to do, even if he's late. He creates miracles, never bet against Elon, all that kind of stuff. We don't have that cut yet in the federal spending. We don't have that we can't see it yet in terms of actually starting to the deficit to come down. Therefore, the bond market is saying, sorry, show me. You know, I'm not ready to come down unless I start seeing wages not going up at 5% a year, and unless I see some kind of cut happening in the
yeah.
federal deficit.
Yeah. No, I mean, and it's not going to happen overnight either.
Right.
It's there's a lot. We're pulling forward a lot. I think we're pulling forward a lot, and I think it can get a little convoluted with Tesla because this is all happening at the same time as we see FSD 13 coming out, and at the same time you see a few more people talking about it,
Mhm.
but you don't see enough people talking about it. I don't think it hasn't gone viral. It hasn't been like ChatGPT. You haven't seen anything like that. So I think people should take a beat on it. Now, I do think we could have a good earnings, but let me use this for the third time tonight. It could be a bit synthetic because you could see the last bit of the IRA coming in. You could see more FSD recognition. Um, and I'm sure there's other stuff in there. I'm not thinking energy numbers could be bigger, but I wouldn't consider that synthetic. I would call the reason I would consider the FSD synthetic is because you probably uh, recognize a large lump sum
Right.
that's not necessarily reoccurring revenue.
Well, it'll reoccur, but the
Maybe
size of the number won't reoccur. So in other words,
it.
if we're only capturing 75%, recognizing 75% of FSD now, and it goes to 95, there will be a capture over 6 million cars that will pick, or however many, the percentage that are using it. I'm sorry. So maybe 400,000 or 500,000 cars that are using it will capture that 20%. And then going forward, it'll all be at 95. So it will increase going forward, but
it
it won't be, part of it'll be one time.
but for that to be meaningful,
Right.
you need to have one, the majority of people on a subscription versus like me where I bought it outright. That's one. And then two, you need to have more, you have to be adding more and more people. You
Right.
have to have new subscribers
I
constantly being added.
look at those as two different things. So one is we've got, I don't know about you, I bought it,
Yeah,
you
I bought it.
know, my, I bought it, 4 years ago. Tesla has only captured 75% of my purchase.
Mhm.
Okay. Maybe it's now going to be 95. So they pick up that 20%, your car, everybody else that's done it. From now on, in January, if somebody pays $8,000 for it, or whatever the number is now, that'll be 95 instead of 75.
Yeah,
So
but I get
continue.
that.
Yeah.
But
And then
my
there's a
point is,
separate issue in terms of uptake. So is the uptake higher? Are more people subscribing? Are more people buying it because it's so much better?
yeah, but so my point is like I get what you're saying. But if you don't have more and more subscribers, if it doesn't take in a meaningful way,
Right.
then what happens is you get recognition, none.
None. Yeah.
Because you would need to have a subs. I mean, because that's a
You
big
have to have more people
recognition.
buying it. Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
subscribe.
So it matters, and I don't think we'll get there. I don't think you'll see meaningful numbers of people subscribing until it's unsupervised.
Okay.
It's kind of sad to me. I think that's kind of like it's not how I would have thought this would play out. I'm shocked right now that listen, my friend has a Cybertruck. Every time he drives, I'm like, why aren't you using FSD? And he's like, oh yeah, okay, I can try it. It's like I'm like, this blows my mind.
Okay.
The other day we were going. Go ahead.
So I wasn't using it because the nag was nagging me to death. But once the nag went away, I don't get it. I don't know why anybody doesn't use it. Now,
Well,
some
we,
people like
we
to drive. I mean, there's a kind of a fun, you're, making the whatever. So, there's some of that.
yeah, we were at we went to this charity event a couple nights ago, and we're all dressed up and everything going, and we're in the Cybertruck, and I asked him like, why aren't you using it? And so he turns it on. It's already doing perfect. Gets off the highway to avoid traffic, all this stuff, and then we get to this where you would normally have like unprotected left, but you have to go straight across it. So we're not making a left, but just to give you an idea of what the road looks like.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he's like, "Oh no, I don't trust it here." And so he takes over, and the second he takes over, he tries. He almost gets us into a freaking accident. I look at him like, "Are you kidding me right now? What are you doing?" But my point is, even someone like that
Yeah,
who
yeah,
has a Cybertruck right now, which I would consider that someone who's early adopter,
right.
who has a lot of Tesla shares, so he gets it, gets FSD, all this.
Yeah.
Even he's not using it right now,
Yeah.
and the only reason he has it is because it's the free trial.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
this is not how I thought the adoption would have happened.
yeah.
So that's why now I really do think until it gets to unsupervised, it's not happening.
Yeah, and I also think, see, this is where I get. So, I'm the optimist of the group, of course. The I
I don't know. You barely use it.
I no, I'm talking about optimist of, the whole. I'm known as, the Uber Bowl. I'm not sure how fast robotaxi will be adopted either, and I'm also not sure how fast people will put their cars into service in the robotaxi fleet.
Oh no, I
So,
think you're wrong on that one.
you think a lot of people will put their car in service?
Oh, one, you don't need that many people. Two, yes, absolutely. I think what Uber driver? Just think of all the Uber
Uber
drivers.
drivers, yeah, they'll put theirs in, of course. They can sit home and put their feet up. Yeah.
Yeah, or if they're going to buy a new car, guess what they're going to buy?
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
Tesla. Guess why?
Yeah. No, I'm
Yeah,
talking
like
about the regular folks that me, will we be putting our cars out for rent?
yes,
You will.
yes,
Okay.
you will.
Well,
You will. You think you won't, but you will.
when,
Randy, when you're like,
okay.
man, this car sitting in my garage could make more money for me than me sitting here doing YouTube, and it takes no effort for that to
That'll
go.
never happen. I make so much money. I mean, it's just I can't fit it all in the safe. I'm like Elon's dad. I'm trying to stuff the money in the safe and it won't fit.
Yeah, guys, you should see the royalty checks I get from Randy every December. But yeah, I don't know. You're already seeing Waymo in certain areas take market share from Lyft and Uber. Like
Yep,
Farzad and Hans
that's
did a whole thing about it.
yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah. No, I think I just don't know if it'll happen as fast. And I don't know whether the transition will happen as quickly as I would love it to happen, okay, because I'm so impatient about all of it. I want those optimists to be out there in that factory right now, and I want them to
Yeah.
be sold tomorrow. And I'm mad when I see what's his name, Brett or whatever, over there, shipping. He's got his shipping container and everything with that robot, all splayed out inside the box. And I'm like, come on, man,
Just
start shipping the
marketing.
robot, man.
Just marketing, Randy.
Just
That's all
marketing.
it is.
I don't know anything
That's
about
all it is.
marketing. What marketing?
Uh,
So, any
You know what
last?
it is? It's like all those people on. I mean, I don't know if you're on Instagram or TikTok or anything like that, but it's all those people who have this or create this social media presence as if they're rich,
Yeah, yeah,
they
right.
don't need to work, they're constantly traveling to all these places, they've got all these girls or all these guys, and they're at all these restaurants, all these things. And in reality, they've got two other jobs. They took one cruise ship. They took a lot of pictures, different nights and everything, and they've been posting the same thing for the last year after that one little trip. And they're just recycling it, and they're creating this falsehood of, oh, I have this big glamorous thing, and that's all he's doing. Look at this shipping container or this box with the humanoid in there, ready to go, and all. Okay, let me know when it's out there actually doing real work, and you're actually scaling it and you're actually selling it. It's to me, it's Cruise, it's Nikola, it's that.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a fraud per
No,
se,
no,
but I'm
just
saying
not, yeah, not, yeah, yeah, a lot of hype.
we we can't beat Tesla. We can't catch up to Tesla. So what do we do? Well, we're gonna give the appearance that we're winning.
Okay, so listen, it's really over with Tesla. I mean, it's down 9 now.
Good.
What are we going to do? Well, yeah, actually, for me, I've been everybody on the channel knows I want to buy. I sold my Leaps last week. Did you know
Oh,
that?
okay. Can you tell me how that worked out? I'm really curious.
Yeah, well, so I sold them at 415, 417.
But
I
you
had
bought
double.
them at three what?
I can't,
Three
whatever it was,
40?
I had actually bought twice. So I had bought some several months ago, and then I bought some about 5 or 6 weeks ago. And whatever it was, I had exactly doubled or virtually exactly doubled. And besides that, just like you were saying about kind of being in an area where maybe it was starting to coalesce, I thought, this is probably where it's going to kind of stop for a minute, and I could probably buy back at 400. So I got out, and so far I haven't been able to buy back at
Yeah.
400.
Okay, let me say something that might be a little controversial.
Sure. You?
And
Yeah.
this isn't financial advice, but I think I don't you never hear anyone say this, so I just want to say it. When it comes to investing, I think a lot of people will look at their portfolio and whatever the highest it's ever been, they think if it's not there, then something's wrong or they feel bad or whatever. And I would say whatever the highest your portfolio is, that's not how much you actually have. I would say take 20% off of that. And that's probably more reality. Maybe take 30%. That's more reality. And the reason I say this is because there's this whole narrative of always just buy and hold forever,
Mhm.
no matter what.
Mhm.
And I don't necessarily disagree with that, but there are ways to be more capital efficient. People talk about how options are so dangerous, and they can be. Don't get me wrong; they can be very, very dangerous. But in many ways, they're no more dangerous than owning a stock because a stock's 50-50.
Yeah.
It
Those
can
are
go up or down.
what? Options, 50
An
50.
option, no, actually, an option can have a higher probability of success
Mhm.
because you're saying that it's going to be at a certain price, or you're saying it's not going to get to a certain price by a certain date.
Right, right.
So your probability of profit can actually be quantified, and you can actually have a higher success than you would just holding the stock. Now, again, I'm not saying not to buy and hold. I'm just saying it's okay to take profits. It's okay. And I think sometimes in this community, everyone's talking about just diamond hands and everything. And everyone can act like they love being diamond hands and, hey, I'm tough because I held it from when we were, at the peak all the way down to $101 and now we're back. All right. Well, wouldn't you have preferred to have sold maybe when it was like not at peak, maybe 20% off peak,
Right.
and then bought back
Like
in,
at
maybe
100.
not at the bottom, but in the 200s? Like, wouldn't you have preferred that? You probably would have.
Yeah. In fact, I
So
did.
I'm just okay. Yeah, perfect. Yeah,
I was completely out. Had sold 100% as it was taking that trip down, and bought back in at two. I'm sorry, 186. One no
yeah,
168. 168. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm not telling anyone to do anything. I would never tell anyone what to do. I'm just saying, like, if you're in a place where you're like, wow, my family is financially independent forever, like we're in such a good place now, like it's okay to take some off the table to protect what you have built. Like, I think that's okay. And I feel like there's a lot of shaming if someone does that. Again,
Well, yeah,
I've
and
not sold a
the other
share,
thing, yeah,
but
yeah,
but
and you
everyone needs to do their own.
yeah, and you say it so right. And when I say it, when you say it, we say, hey, this is not investment advice because I can't know your situation. I
Yeah,
can't know your personality. I can't know your risk aversion. I can't know your risk inclination. I can't know where you are in life. I can't know
exactly.
who's standing over your shoulder and watching what you're doing and criticizing you for doing this or that or the other that could very definitely impact. It could be your dad. It could be, I'm not even talking about your dad when you're 17. I'm talking about it could be when you're 55. It could be your 75-year-old dad going, how come you just, so there's all kinds of influences that can impact how people trade. I would never shame anybody for any kind of
Yeah.
way that they trade. My trade, when I took it out, yes, I'm feeling about this much regret, about that much that I didn't get this run up. But I've also trained myself to emotionally distance myself from that kind of regret because it's stupid. Because
Yeah.
I'll get in whenever I get in when I think it's the right time again, and I might be wrong, and that's the part of my portfolio though. That's my play money. It's not my
Yeah.
serious money. The serious
Yeah.
money is in the stock, and I just use the other one for play. And if I make a lot of money, well, good. And then I take some of that money and buy stock with it to increase the kind of the foundational stuff. But that's how I do it, and it definitely doesn't mean that that's how anybody else should do it.
Yeah. No, I agree.
All right,
Yeah.
well, let's look at the numbers here before we burn up the entire clock.
Sounds
Um,
good.
all right, so we're down 851 for Tesla right now after being up 1684. So therefore, we are still up over $7 for the day. And by the way, there's every good reason to believe we'll be in the green by the time the market opens tomorrow morning on the overnight. I'm talking about. We got the Dow was down 267, Nasdaq was down 64, the S&P was down 23, and every other member, I'm sorry, Apple was up and Microsoft was up. The rest of the Mag 7 were down, and the Cathy Woods were as mixed as they could possibly be. There's exactly as much green as red, so not much to tell you about what was happening. A lot of mixed in the tech stocks, but the indices were all down pretty much all day.
More
Okay.
to come, I think.
More down to come. Well, I've been calling for this for I think about 5 months. I'm
Yeah.
also commonly early, but I've like no, we need a sell off. We need a 10 to 20% sell off so that we can start from there again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, like I said, I think in the new year you'll see it.
Okay. You think you will get the Santa Claus rally, and then sometime in January, February we'll have the sell off.
Yeah. Maybe March. Yeah, I don't
Maybe.
know. It'll happen eventually.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Bonds. We've got. Oh, the 10-year. We're still at 4.389. Boy, that's almost exactly we're so back up a little in the after hours. 4.389 is very strong. I've been saying every night, maybe you'll have a different opinion. for those people who want to get into some decent return, 4.4% for a very long time, and have the underlying bond also probably go up in the future. I read this about what was that, 9 or 10 months ago? I said exactly the same thing when it was at 5%. And that was it. That was the cap. I caught it exactly at
Yeah.
the so anyway, it's not investment advice. It's just smart. That's just smart. Doesn't have to be advice. It's just smart if that's you. If that's what you're, if that's what would float your boat. 2 year is actually down a little bit, half a basis point, and the 1 month is up 2.7. What's going on with the shorts? That's kind of weird. You said you said 1 month shouldn't affect credit cards, though.
No, I mean, credit cards are just a mess in general. But that's like a ticking time bomb that hasn't exploded.
The shorts.
The
credit
credit
cards.
cards.
Okay. Oil unchanged in the pre-market, sitting at $70. It's been 69, 70, 71 for several days now, maybe a week. So not really much change there. Natural gas, after being down a lot today, is now back up quite nicely at almost $4. I'm sorry, 3.4, almost 40 cents. Gold up again. So, but it seems to revolve around this number that, as a Bible believing, Bible thumper Christian, I hate to see it, 2666. It just seems to always light there. I don't know how that works. Silver up a little tiny bit also, but sitting at 31, so well below that 34, and copper basically unchanged. The one thing that hasn't moved, commodities. It's like the only thing. Interest rates, what do you call it? The interest rates are high, gold is high, crypto's high, or Bitcoin's high, equities are high.
Well, here's something that's curious. Bitcoin
Yep.
is essentially at an all-time high, right?
106. It was like what, 108, almost 108 the other day, or something in that ballpark.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
if you look at MicroStrategy,
Yeah.
MicroStrategy is about what, 30-40% off its highs.
30-40% off.
Yeah, its high was 555, and we're at call it
Wow.
386.
Wow. I did not know that. I hadn't heard
Interesting,
that.
huh?
Interesting. Yeah, Bitcoin tonight up 195. That's a very small move for Bitcoin.
And
And
I'll say it's even more interesting because Michael Saylor has been everywhere, doing
yeah,
interviews everywhere nonstop.
yeah,
So like, yeah, so you would think that'd be
yeah,
like Elon going out doing
right.
interviews everywhere nonstop, making the rounds.
Yeah.
It's
See, he's not as good a salesman as Elon. Back
yeah.
to my point. The the pre the equities, you've got the Dow up a little bit, 32 points. You've got the S&P down 75, I'm sorry, 0.75, and the Nasdaq down 26.25. So basically not much directionality there for us to wow, Nissan shares surged 22% after media reports on potential merger with Honda. Bad for
What
both,
do you
I
think about that? Bad for both.
Honda and Nissan. Well, they talked about this, that the only way these ICE car companies are going to survive is if they start merging. So this would be here would be a fairly significant one. What do you think?
I don't know. I think you're gonna see more of it, but I don't know. Time will tell.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to let everybody know that Brian White is coming up here in a couple of hours. We'll be doing part 2 of the cyber cab or the robotaxi rollout list of what has to happen, all of which I think will happen in 2025, from FSD 13 all the way through to cyber cabs starting to roll off the production line at the end of 2025. So 26 different things that I think will happen that'll lead to that result, and that'll be on at 7:45 California time. Any last thoughts tonight? You must have a word of wisdom to help us out the door here.
I have a question.
Oh, okay.
Randy, with this recent run up, what's your 2025 year end target?
Hasn't
Has
changed
it
a bit.
changed?
700 plus plus. 700
Okay.
plus robotaxi rollout. It's probably good for another 100, 150. Optimus reveal, significant, serious reveal like pricing, expected production, the date when they think it'll actually start shipping, whatever, but a real rollout. A
Mhm.
fly through the factory, showing hundreds of them, working at various tasks. I mean, a super duper reveal that I don't even know how much that'll increase the price. But let's just call it maybe one or both of those. You might be looking more like 1,000 by the end of the year, but 700 just on metal, just energy and cars and the current and existing and continuing addition that we've got for the kind of the robotaxis are coming and the Optimus is coming.
Okay. All right. I like it. I hope you're right.
All right. Okay, then. Well, I guess we'll call it a day. And then for all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.